thank you to the Hoboken Public Library. I believe one of the greatest libraries on earth. I want to thank them for supporting the arts. Hoboken is becoming a premier space for community arts and the sharing of arts to everyone. It seems now throughout the United States, we have people participating in these art at home classes from everywhere in the continent. As far as I know, no one from overseas yet, but you never know. But for the month of May, we will be looking at artists of Asian American and Asian Pacific Islander heritage, because in the United States, we are proud to celebrate the contributions of Asian American and Pacific Islander people, particularly at this time in the United States, where there is a lot of racial antagonism towards people of Asian heritage, which we must all fight against. So I am so delighted that the library has asked us to honor and spotlight these fabulous artists, many of whom are not well known in the United States. So it is a privilege for us to get to know them better and to learn more about their major contributions to the world of art and their contributions to American culture, which are considerable and have been for quite a while. All right. Our format for today, I feel like there may be some new folks attending today. Let me do a quick scroll through of names. Yeah, there are some names that I'm not recognizing. So I want to quickly talk about our format for those of you who may be new or are relatively new to our classes. Our Art at Home classes start with a look at and a discussion of the works of a particular artist. I show images of their work. We talk about their background and a little bit of their biography. We discuss their work. Then I talk about possible things that you can create on your own. And then you're free to start making what you want to make. And I will demonstrate a possible project that you can make. Heidi, are you still with us? Esty
I'm here.
Marome did not get the link. If you could please.
Did she register? Okay.
She claims to have registered, so if you could resend, please. Or if Heather, if you have a minute, if you could please forward.
I got it. I got it.
Thank you. All right, so what we're going to do prior to talking about our artists today, though, I'd like to make sure that everyone who may be new gets a chance to do a quick intro, and everyone who's a veteran of the class gets to do a quick intro as well. So I'm going to start, maybe do a quick intro, and I'm trying to think of a fun thing you can share about yourself. Today, maybe talk about whether you like working 3-dimensionally or 2-dimensionally. So I am Liz Ndoy. I have been an artist since I was 7 years old. I prefer working 3-dimensionally to 2-dimensionally, and I love doing 3-dimensional work using fabric. All right, Lauren, could you please go next?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, all. Welcome to this amazing Wednesday in art class. I'm Lauren, and I like all sorts of mediums. I'm kind of just exploring now boxes. So found objects and things. I'm really getting excited about sculpture and 2D, 3D, 20D, yes, D. I like it all. It's all exciting and I have no preference, but I'm really enjoying 3D right now. So
Well,
that's who I
welcome.
am.
Welcome, Lauren. And
Thank you.
for
Thank you so
coming.
much.
And Dina, you are next. Please unmute.
Sorry, I was muted.
That's quite all right.
I love art. I've been doing art since I was a kid too. I'm getting more excited about three-dimensional art. So I'm cutting up all my boxes and recycling stuff, and that's what I'm up to now.
Thank you for coming. Welcome. All right, Shirley.
Hi everyone, my name is Shirley. I live in Hoboken. I've been with this class for not that long, but you know, and I
Shirley,
love this class.
3 years at least. You're one of my veterans.
Am I? Wow.
Yeah.
If you put it that way, I feel ashamed that I have to work harder.
No,
Thanks, Liz.
you're doing wonderfully well and welcome.
Thank
you
you.
for being here. Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather, and I tend to work 3D or texturally anyway. And I love being in your class.
Welcome and thank you. And Robin. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. Hi. I've always kind of done art all my life, but in the last 10 years, I started doing more seriously, and I joined Liz's class about 3 years ago. So I'm exploring all kinds of different things. I think I'm just a two-dimensional person just because I haven't experienced three-dimensional that much. So I'm always open to learning something new. And thankfully with Liz, thank you.
Bravo. Thank you for being here. Welcome. And Pat. Morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. I've been in this class for a couple of years. This is Pat. I always like doing 2D, but ever since I attend this class, I got to explore the front option doing 3D stuff. So I definitely getting there and enjoying more and look forward for today. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Esty, good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
What are we talking about?
Well, just a quick intro. And do you like 3D or two-dimensional work best? Or maybe both?
A quick intro again? Oh,
Yes, because I think we have some new folks
Esty.
today.
Oh, and what's the other? I just got in. I don't know what.
Do you like three-dimensional or two-dimensional work best? Or maybe you like both?
Mostly two-dimensional.
Okay.
I like everything but two-dimensional.
Thank you. And I'm glad you're here. Welcome.
Sure.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Always.
Sejin. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Sejin. I live in Hoboken. I'm just a rookie, so I would do whatever Liz tells me to do. My teacher.
You're doing great, Miss Rookie. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Love having you here. Thank you for coming. And Pima, good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning. I actually live in Park Slope. I live in Brooklyn, and my brother lives in Hoboken, and he's a member of the public library. So he would share a lot of the links from the Facebook from Hoboken Public Library's Facebook about the different classes that were going on virtually because of the pandemic. So I've been joining a lot of classes, and I like to work in 3D. I like to use like recycled objects, much to my boyfriend's chagrin, because I collect everything and anything when you're a crafter. Like I did this old basketball.
Wow.
And made it into a planter, and I'm gonna hang it eventually. I have some thread to hang it as a, hanging planter. And this little cute guy I just made to hold the phone out of wine corks.
Wow.
Wow. So I'm not naturally an artist as far as somebody who draws and paints. And then I took a class about like what defines an artist and like what we think traditionally is an artist. So I'm trying to get over that imposter syndrome that I'm an artist, even though it's more like crafting. So that's why I joined this class, to learn a little bit more.
Well, Pima, if you're in this class, while you're in this class, you are an artist.
Thank you.
Don't let anybody tell you differently. So
Thank you.
welcome, and I love what you've made.
Thanks.
I too love using recycled materials. I don't know if you can see the mess behind me, but I have a lot of junk in my house. And my husband also is an artist. We have a lot of junk here. So join the crowd.
Same.
Love to use recycled materials. Welcome. And I hope you have fun today.
I will. Thank you.
And let's see, Jane. Jane, so we're just quick intro because we have some new folks. And if you could talk about whether you like 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional work, or maybe you like both. Which do you like best, or maybe you like both?
Okay. So I very much relate to what Pima said. I'm a recent joinee, and trying to deal with my both my imposter syndrome and the long-standing desire to collect things and make things. I do think I like 2-dimensional, but I think I'm kind of a hybrid because I like the idea of 2-dimensional, then beginning to raise off of the surface, like a little bit of extraordinary texture. So that would be my where I get a little creative juice flowing.
You're in the bas relief stage. So you work on a flat surface. You like to extend outwards. Awesome. So glad you're here today, Jane. Welcome. Thank you for coming. And Dima. Oh, wait a minute. Why is it not letting me? Spotlight.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dima. Good
Hi.
morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. I'll be off camera for the most part of the class, but I do enjoy your classes whenever I can attend.
It's a repeat. Yes.
Yes, as far as preferred medium, for longest time, I thought I was more of a 3D, drawn towards 3D work, but lately I've been discovering the beauty of 2D as well. So I'm kind of flipping between the two.
Awesome. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
And particularly since you're in a kind of a challenging situation being at work, right? As well as trying to attend the class. So kudos to you. Thank you very much. And I feel like, welcome everyone. I feel like somehow I've missed people, but I'm not seeing who at this point. Lorraine. Lorraine, you are off camera, but would you like to quickly say something? To introduce yourself? And Nina, yes, I see that I've missed you. And Margot. There are a bunch of people. Lorraine, can you unmute perhaps and just tell us if you like working in 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional work? And EJ also, okay. No. Okay. So, Nina, could you go next?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Nina.
Hi, I'm Nina, and I would preferably work with two-dimensional and specifically watercolor.
Wonderful.
It's just really fun to experience.
Wonderful. Nina, were you with us last week? I feel like I remember.
I don't think I was here last week. I think I was here a couple weeks ago.
All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming back.
Hi,
We are-
can I
we
just
are
say
gonna-
something?
Sure.
Liz, hi, everyone. My name's Heidi, and I'm the program coordinator here at the Hoboken Library. So thanks, everyone, for coming. It's so much fun that people are coming from all over. Everyone's welcome. Two things. I ask everyone to please register, and then I will send out a link to everyone who's registered. So people say to me, I didn't get the link. That's because you didn't register. Also, the other thing is we might have a problem with this AOL, Yahoo, and Hotmail. I don't want to say any more. You guys must have had problems in the past with this really old ancient emails. I think it's time to update. And then the third thing is we give out supplies. They have your name on them. I don't know what's going on, but you have to register in order to, obviously you have to register so we see your name with the supplies. The supplies are only handed out at the beginning of the month. So from now on, for the month of May, you could just continue using that Zoom link that I sent you today. And then in June, you'll get a new one and register again. Please don't take anybody else's supplies. We're having an issue with that. And please make sure it's for the right class. Charissa, my assistant, it's just put so much time and energy into all these supplies, and they all have someone's name and what class it is. If you're registered for the coffee and canvas for Saturday, those supplies haven't gone out yet. There's been a delay in the paint, and we hope to have them out this afternoon. Okay, thank you. Enjoy the class. Bye.
Excuse me, Heidi. This is Heather. I went and got supplies and there are no names.
Oh, there are no name. Okay, so
there are no names on the monthly art.
Okay, so my mistake. So thank you. So the art class doesn't have, but the coffee and canvas does, I guess. It's just been an enormous amount of work. So I just really appreciate if everyone just takes one, and don't forget to register. Any question?
Yeah, Heidi. I registered, I received the confirmed registration, but then I didn't get the Zoom link. Do you think it's because of the Yahoo?
I sent it out I sent it out like 10 minutes before.
Yeah, I didn't get it till I emailed you.
Yeah, it could be the
separately.
Yahoo. It could be.
Even though I got the confirmed registration, it still could have just, I know, I have a
Okay, from
Gmail,
my-
I just use,
Yeah, the
I have a
email
Gmail, I
I
just use Yahoo for this.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the email I sent came from my work email, and it is a little strange. Heidi at Hoboken.buckles.org. They might not, maybe Yahoo thinks this is weird.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Sure. Enjoy.
Thank you.
All right. So Nina, I just wanted to mention that today we're going to work three-dimensional, but you have the option, everyone has this option. If you prefer working in two-dimensional, have at it. You do not have to work in three-dimension if you don't feel comfortable doing that. Although I do encourage people to try new things. It's a way to grow and learn. All right, EJ, would you like to please introduce yourself?
Hi there. Hi, Liz.
Okay,
Good morning,
we
everybody.
have a picture. Go ahead.
This is Elena, and I just wanted to let you know I do love 2D and 3D art. However, I feel 2D might be my strength. I really look forward to your programs for the fact that you introduce current artists and not, let's say, art history type of artists. And it's really exciting and awesome how you're flexible and you really teach us so much. Thank you so much, Liz.
It's wonderful to meet you, Elena. Thank you for being here. Awesome. I do
Thank
try
you.
to introduce brand new artists. Sometimes we do go back in history. But today we're going to look at somebody I barely know and I have fallen in love with. So that's the good news. Margot, and thank you for coming, Elena.
I prefer 2D, but I'm always open to trying new things. And I love this class, Liz.
Thank you, Margot. And you are off camera at the moment.
Yes, I am off camera.
Okay, that's fine.
Be very glad. Because I'm not.
I'm sure you look beautiful, but we all have that impulse from time to time of wanting to hide. That's quite all right. All right. So I think that's everyone now. If I've missed anyone, please feel free to call out or raise your hand. And before I forget, just some ground rules or housekeeping rules for this class. I always ask that participants please mute yourselves unless you have a question to ask or a comment to make. Even little ambient noise can be distracting to artists who are trying to work and create. And oh, Nina, have I missed you? No, you did get to introduce yourself.
Yes, something just came unexpected, so I might have to leave.
Oh, too bad, but this is being recorded, so you can always watch on the library YouTube channel at a later time. I'm so
Okay.
sorry if you have to leave, but we understand that's life.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming, and do watch the recording if you can. All right, so thank you for staying muted, unless you have a comment or a question to ask. Our artist for today, I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Our artist for today is Do Ho Suh. And Suh was born in Korea and moved to the United States at the age of 29 in 1991. He currently lives between New York, London, and Seoul. London is becoming a burgeoning hub for international artists. I was just reading today about a Guyanese artist who lives between London and New York as well. He's home based in London, but works between London and New York City. And I'm finding this is something that's happening more frequently for artists from all over the world. So anyway, Suh works and lives between New York, London, and Seoul. He crafts his work using traditional Korean sewing techniques combined with 3D modeling and mapping technologies. Suh sees these works as suitcase homes. They are so lightweight and portable that they can be installed almost anywhere. Love this concept. I am a fabric artist. I too get excited by creating three-dimensional objects using fabric. So his work is just so inspirational to me. And when you see it, I hope you get excited by it as well. His works transform the familiarity of a domestic space into a liminal one, where home is both an idealized concept and physical reality. Through these spaces, Suh examines how home and identity are ever-evolving concepts in today's global society, and how culture, tradition, migration and displacement intersect as we construct our ideas of selfhood and origin. I read an interview of Suh on Art 21, and when he first came to the United States, he went to RISD School of Design, Rhode Island School of Design, and Yale University. And language was a barrier for him. He really did not speak English. And homesickness, he didn't want to experience homesickness, but he missed his home tremendously. He missed his language, he missed his culture, he missed the foods from home. And he wanted to combat homesickness. He really didn't want to experience it. And the way he fought against it was to recreate his home. And he lived in a very tiny apartment. So he realized he couldn't recreate it to size, but he could recreate it to scale if he used non-traditional materials. And he fell upon this idea of using muslin fabric. He spoke to his mother about what he could use. He bounced ideas off of her, and she is a seamstress. And that's how he came up with using muslin fabric and the idea of recreating space, these spaces of home, rooms from home, out of material. And he proceeded to learn traditional Korean sewing techniques and began to stitch these spaces. He began to be invited for exhibitions. He really couldn't afford to build structures out of rigid materials. So he hit upon this idea again of continuing to use lightweight fabrics that he could fold up and put into suitcases that were portable and easily transportable from place to place. And that's how he came up with these cloth homes and spaces. So he's had several exhibitions, most notably in Los Angeles, also the Seattle Art Museum, the Seattle Asian Art Museum. He's been in major exhibitions at the Whitney Museum of American Art, at the Philip Morris, at the Serpentine Gallery in London, and the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art in Kansas City, Missouri. His sculptures are questioning the identity of an individual today in the world that is increasingly global and transnational. He uses non-traditional materials also. Pima, this is really going to ring true for you. He uses things like military dog tags, and we're going to look at a piece that he created out of dog tags. He makes pieces out of little plastic human figures, little action figures. So he loves using collectible, recyclable, non-traditional materials as well as the fabrics. All right. I think we're ready to look at his works. Does anyone know anything more about him that they would like to share? So he's relatively new to me.
I don't know any, I don't know anything more, but I'm very curious, and I was very struck by your original statement that talked about his desire to create images from home and work with materials from his home. It's very striking because these days the concept of home has become so enormous for all of us. And I get like a little emotional even, so I won't go on, but just say that it seems very current, a very important way to look at creating and our roots and our home and where we're standing right now.
I agree, particularly in a time when there is so much hatred and racism and polarization and division in the world. I think the whole concept of home and acceptance and welcome, all the things that home represents, I think his work definitely has an emotional place as well as an aesthetic place in our consciousness. So great, nice comment, thank you. All right, so let me get some images. I, of course, am overwhelmed by his work, not quite sure which one to look at first. Let's try this one. So this is, I believe, one of the first replications of his home. And I should mention, everyone can see, correct? So many of you are off camera today, I can't tell, good. These are difficult to see because they're quite transparent. And these are collaborative pieces. He does not make them alone. He works with Korean seamstresses, which he finds really exciting. He was, prior to this, before he got into sculpture, he was a traditional artist. He learned to use brush and ink. He went to school in Korea and learned calligraphy, which he said he was okay at, but he did not enjoy doing traditional Korean arts. This is more his style. And so he has become a conceptual sculptor. This really is much more expressive of what he wants to show. His work is three-dimensional, but quite often suspended from the ceiling, as this one is. It is very lightweight, transparent, and thin. He chooses to use this greenish blue celadon color. It is a color of jade. Frequently in Korean homes, the ceiling is painted this color. It represents the sky. Very detailed stitching. Each one of these panels is hand stitched, I believe. So a lot of work goes into these pieces. Before we start talking about his work, I think let's look at a few today.
Excuse me, what is the, what's the style? You said it's this set of seamstresses and it's a certain style. What does that entail?
The only way I can answer that question, Lauren, is there are different types of stitches in traditional Korean sewing. And so he has hired Korean seamstresses who know the different styles of stitching, and they employ those styles. I don't know specifically what they are. You're our favorite researcher. I invite you to look them up.
Will do, I'm on it. Thank you.
Look at this. So this one is not suspended, I don't think. I think this one stands up. He puts wire struts in the fabric to make them stand up, and the roof is supported by wires to give it support. And the columns are three-dimensional, and the This is called the portico. The roof of the entryway is 3-dimensional. It's quite wonderful. And he wants people to walk into them. He's exploring people's relationship to interior, exterior, public and private space.
It's remarkable to look at something so sturdy as, you know, portable.
So sturdy yet so fragile.
Exactly.
I agree. Now,
So
look,
does he put these, he makes frames to?
there are wire frames.
Wire frames.
Wire, yes. Are people having
Oh.
difficulty hearing me? There are wire frames that support the fabric. It's very thin fabric. I don't believe you can walk on this stairway, but this stairway is 3-dimensional, supported by wire. It is completely transparent, very ghostly.
Cool to look at it. You said ghostly, but there's like this ethereal feel to our memories. When we think of them, they're usually kind of gilded. And so I think that that's kind of cool to envision your home as such. So very flowy. I'd love to see this. I think one of them's at the Brooklyn Museum. Is that right? I'll look it up.
Now, I don't know. If you could find out for us, Lauren, that would be great. So look at the attention to detail. Memory, yes, Lauren, memory certainly is a major factor because these are spaces that he's actually been to or inhabited. So he's recreating specific spaces that he has been in. He builds them with the help of his collaborative team, folds them up, and carries them to the exhibition spaces. Takes them out of the suitcase, unfolds them, and sets them up. Does this remind you, any of you who are my veteran students, there is an artist we've looked at who also turned to fabric so that she could send her work around the world cheaply. Hint, hint, she's African American. Hint, hint, she is playing a major role in MoMA at the moment. Her work is hanging next to Picasso's Demoiselles d'Avignon. Hint, hint, she's a quilter. It's Faith Ringgold. Okay, so those are some of Do Ho Suh's room and home sculpture. Now we're going to look at something completely different. His work. And someone needs to mute, please. I hear something that sounds like a saw going on. If you could please mute everyone.
It sounded like a 3D printer.
Oh, maybe somebody's
To me.
building there. Maybe it's Heidi at the library.
It's not me. I'm muted.
Sorry, it was me by mistake.
Okay, so this is a suspended from the ceiling sculpture by Suh. And can you see the little tiny figures? Plastic figures.
Yes.
I love everything about this. I
This
think it is.
extraordinary. Yeah, other comments. Let's start with the comments now. Sorry, I've I haven't given many people a chance to talk.
It's so interesting to look at and so lively, even though they're plastic figures. It just has such dimension and shape. I can't stop looking at it.
Right.
Agreed. I like how it jumps out at you. It's a large, obviously, item, but the fact that he started with the lighter colors and then came to the brighter ones, it comes at you, you know, this burst of color. Obviously, it's 3D. I love that it's these little figurines. Again, memories almost being, it's almost like a mobile of your memories. I mean, each of those colors, figures, whatever, could potentially, you know, equate to that time in Central Park on the carousel. Like you just, I don't know, you just don't know. But I think this is amazing. I would probably and stare up at it for hours.
Liz, do you know if it's something suspended or is it
Yes,
two-dimensional? I'm not-
This is suspended. This is a ceiling piece.
It almost looks, because it's just a picture of, it almost looks like it's moving, like as if the lights are going from, you know, the lighter to darker, the way it draws your eyes down. It also draw your eyes up a little, but also just the shapes of the figurines draw your eyes kind of going down. In this picture, I mean, maybe in person it's a little different as well, but it almost looks like it's, you know how Christmas lights, some people have those lights that like blink different colors.
Yes.
It's interesting, again, that it's dropping down, but the droplet that I see is kind of, you know, flipped. So it's, I don't know.
So if it were a raindrop, it would be turned the other direction.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Or a teardrop. Yes.
That's interesting.
To me, it reminds me of traditional Asian decoration. You know, like what you might see hanging from the corner of a temple or someone's house. It's very beautiful. Okay, now this next one, I believe for those of you who are on my email list, I think I sent this picture. Oh, and for those of you who are new today, if you want to be on my email list, you can put your email in the chat box and I will be happy to send you. I send out an email once a week to explain the class for the following week. This is the last picture that I think I'll show today, and then I'm going to talk about what we're going to create today. So I mentioned earlier that he uses military dog tags. And this is the piece in which he did employ those dog tags. I believe it is a samurai robe or made in the style of a samurai robe. And it is created with thousands of military dog tags, somehow probably wired or stitched together. It's, to me, it's exquisite. Any thoughts or ideas on this one? Again, to me, it's about identity.
Looks like samurai chainmail.
It's massive. This thing is like a third of a room, it feels like, isn't it? Like when you look above it, like the bottom bit, that could be, I think that's like 12 feet. I don't know. It's huge. The size of this is just like, you can't even get it.
I don't know the dimensions, Lawrence. So that's another thing if you want to help us.
I know it's at the Rhode Island
life
School.
size.
Sorry.
That's for sure. And again, he loves playing with the whole idea of scale and our physical relationship to scale and what it means. I'm guessing, what does it mean about power and domination? And
I think of time it takes to make this. I mean, my little cork project took me so long. And this must have taken, I don't even know the hours. It's probably documented somewhere, but it's amazing. And then I get so bored easily with some of my projects to have to go back to do that over and over.
Well, it does make you realize why artists now work in collaboration with others.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, particularly conceptual artists like Suh, when they get these huge ideas, huge concepts, they need to turn to other artists and artisans to help them see their ideas to fruition, because they are massive in scale and it takes help. It takes a village. And we've looked at many artists now who work in collaboration. Pima, he is not the first.
Okay. Interesting.
He's one of many.
So this is called Metal Jacket.
Metal Jacket.
He used 3,000 tags.
Wow.
3,000. Thanks, Sage.
I think he's also talking about the sacrifice of the warriors or the soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me, and it's just amazingly powerful.
That makes sense. Thanks, Sage, and thanks, Robin.
He actually had a veteran, he commissioned a veteran to make all of the dog tags. And I guess he calls this a kimono, but
A kimono, sorry, not a samurai robe. That's even better.
No, this is like what in the back in the old days, Korean soldiers wore to protect themselves.
Oh.
Like Goryeo dynasty or something like that.
Okay, thank you for the correction, because samurai, of course,
Samurai is not
part of
Korean, that's
Korean
Japanese.
culture. Yeah, that's Japanese culture. Very different. Thank you so much for the correction, Sejin.
You're welcome.
It's a beautiful piece. All right. Any more thoughts, or are we ready to do our own thing? I hope you're finding Suh's work as inspiration as I have. And I'm going to look too into whether or not he has a piece at the Brooklyn Museum, because I would love to go see it.
the room that you featured is there at the Brooklyn Museum. And I gave you the link in the chat. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, okay, great. So everybody, did you send it to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the, oh no, I didn't. I just realized. Let me remedy that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren.
No
So
problem.
this is a Korean.
Oh, I'm reading something in Korean. Can I say something?
Sure.
So he lived in a Korean traditional house that his father built himself, designed himself when he was like third grader. So he saw his dad build his own house, made out of wood mainly.
And I'm right about the celadon color for the ceiling, correct?
Yes, that's correct. My when I was younger, my house used to have that color on the roof. That was our roof color.
And his father modeled their house after a traditional scholar's home. Is that correct also?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if his house is still there.
I think so, because I think his mother is still alive.
Oh, okay.
Still living there, I think.
Huh.
But of
Interesting.
course, I'm not positive. We could look that up too.
Yeah.
And another interesting thing that he did, he created a cookbook of his mother's recipes so that he would not be homesick for her food. He learned to cook exactly like her and created a cookbook of her recipes.
That's so
I would love to meet him. He sounds awesome. All right. So I'm going to stop the share. And here are the materials you need today. Cardboard. Any kind of cardboard. Cardboard boxes. Lightweight tag board. I think in your supply box from the library, if you were lucky enough to get one, you should have had lightweight tag board in there. And you need scissors, a stapler if you're lucky enough to have one, tape, although I would prefer you not use it, Elmer's glue, and I prefer you not use it, but you may have to. And I'm going to explain why I don't want you to use glue in a moment. And if you're lucky enough to have one, a glue gun. So I'm going to give everyone a moment to gather up your supplies, and then I'm going to talk about what we can make. The time right now is almost 10:55. Let's come back together at 10:55, and I'm going to show you what I started making, and we can then have a whole hour and 15 minutes to create our own thing today. My goal is to help you create a fun sculpture from these found materials, but if you prefer working in 2 dimensions, I have some options for you to do 2-dimensionally as well. Okay, while you're gathering up your materials, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the chat box I want to check.
Liz, what was that last thing you asked us to gather, please? The last.
If you have a hot glue gun, it might be useful.
Thank you. But you would prefer us not to use tape or glue?
I'm going to explain why, but if you have it, you might want to get some of it because you might need it.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Do you have an alternative to tag board? I have foam core. Is that similar?
Foam core is great. I will say it's more difficult to cut up.
Yeah.
But it's great to use.
What is tag board then? Maybe I've never used it.
Tag board is just a lightweight, very thin cardboard that's very easy to cut.
It's like the cover to a composition book, like one of these.
It's like construction paper, a little bit heavier weight than construction paper. Like kind of like mat board, but thinner, a very thin mat board.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
Kind of like the cardboard you'd find from the dry cleaner, like the kind of cardboard that is put in shirts.
Oh.
You may not even be old enough to know.
No, I am. I'm old. My voice just sounds young, but I'm old. I'm older. I remember those.
You look young.
Thank you.
You look very beautiful and young.
Thank you.
And I am adding you to my email list.
Thank you.
I'm not giving up my AOL address, just saying. The reason I'm keeping my AOL is because it has my contact list. And I've tried to transfer my contact list to my Gmail account with no success. If anybody is willing to do a tutorial for me on that, I'd love to hear.
I wanted to mention, if you guys go to like your corner store, the boxes and things, or even from Costco,
there's always one of these at the base of like your water or something like that, but they make such wonderful canvas. So you put some gesso on here and then all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, we got, you know, recycled canvas. And it's such a, I don't know, it's such an easy way to have a million canvases in the house. And the texture is really cool. So
Yep. Any corner store or bodega is throwing out boxes every single day. So there's cardboard abound if you're an urban dweller. Liquor stores are another great source of cardboard. Okay, I'm plugging in my hot glue gun. And then I'm going to talk about what I'm making and the options you have for making today.
I need this.
All right. So if you've gathered up all your stuff, you might want to take a look at my kind of wild and crazy creation that I started building last night. As always, I don't want you to make one that looks like mine, but you might want to look at what I'm making just because I want to talk about structure and construction. There are some basic things when you're working 3D that are helpful to know about. And they're kind of intuitive and common sense, but if you've never worked in 3 dimensions before, it's helpful to talk about. First of all, you need a base. You need a base in order to build out, sideways, horizontally, and also up vertically and tall. If you don't have a starting base, you have no support for what you're trying to construct. And unless you're planning, like Mr. Suh, to suspend your piece from the ceiling or attach it somehow to a wall, you need a base so that your piece can stand. Let's see if I do this. So my piece literally stands because I'm building from a base. The other thing that's helpful to know is that if you build wide and horizontally first, if you widen your base in all 4 directions, east, west, north, south, then it becomes much easier and safer to build horizontally and build up. You need that wide support on the bottom in order to be able to build tall. Lighter things, smaller things should go on top. Bigger, wider things on the base so that the taller things have support and can stand up. Now, all of that gets turned up on its head if you're planning, again, to suspend from the ceiling. And we talked about that with Do Ho Suh's piece that hung from the ceiling. It was, many of you said, upside down. The larger part was on the top, the smaller part was on the bottom. There are some other techniques with cardboard. You can't really see well, but at the base of my cylinder, I have done a technique called notching, which I'm going to show you momentarily. Notching and folding, scoring and folding, which enabled me to flatten the bottom of my cylinder so that I could attach it to my base and make it stand up. With paper, by rolling or folding and scoring, you can make any kind of paper, even thin photocopy paper, stand up. By rolling, bending, folding, and scoring, you can make any kind of paper stand up. And I'm going to show you those things momentarily. All right, my objections to glue. Glue is wet. Glue is heavy. Heavy, wet glue can make your sculpture collapse. It takes a long time to dry. And unless you're very skilled with glue and know how to just put tiny amounts in just the right places, it can be inhibiting and it can cause you to get very frustrated and unhappy with your sculpture. So I don't recommend using glue. If you need to, I would use it in great moderation. Use it very, very sparingly. I prefer using staples whenever possible to join your pieces together. If you must use glue and you're lucky enough to have a hot glue gun, hot glue dries much faster. It does not stick as permanently though as something like Elmer's wood glue does. But again, this kind of glue is wet and it's super heavy. So it will weigh your sculpture down and probably make it fall over as you're trying to build it. So it's really something, it's a frustration mechanism. Tape. Tape is okay to use. However, for me, tape is ugly. Tape is also can be very heavy and it can throw the balance of your sculpture off and cause it to fall down. So again, if you use tape, I would use it where you roll it and you put it underneath so it's difficult to see. And I would use it just a little bit, tiny amount. All right, any questions so far? For those of you who do not want to do sculptural work, here's what I would recommend. You can create a mini sculpture with objects from around your home, push them close together, and probably things like cylindrical forms, maybe a roll of twine, a jar of paint. I would push them together and make a little mini still life that you can draw and then paint. But when you do them on the two-dimensional surface, think about the techniques of shading that we have been talking about and create a three-dimensional still life using paint or pencil. Those of you who have not studied with me before, if you don't know the techniques of shading, just try. I don't have time today to teach them, unfortunately, because I'm going to be teaching these sculpture processes, but try and create something on a flat two-dimensional surface that looks three-dimensional. And the way to do that is by using shading. Look at the way the light and shadow hits the objects that you are recreating on the flat surface, and go for it. Make your little mini still life. All right, so building with paper. Let's talk about those basic building paper techniques first. Let me cut some strips of paper. I am using the tag board. You could use heavyweight drawing paper. If you have a sketch pad, that kind of paper works really well. Even photocopy paper, like I mentioned before, construction paper, color construction paper would work with this really well, would work really well. My really good scissors have disappeared. One of the disadvantages of living with another artist is your favorite supplies tend to go on walkabout. All right. If you have never built using paper before, then I recommend you watch me for a few moments before you begin. The first basic thing to know about paper, if you fold it and score it. Scoring means when you crease the fold and make a sharp edge, it will stand up. And you now have a surface on which you can build. Think about cardboard boxes and how they work. Look at the flaps on this box. See how the flaps stand up? It's because they have been folded and scored to make them bend and stay bent in a particular way. So that is one thing to keep in mind. You can make your own boxes or your own legs by folding and scoring, and you have a base to start working from, or your base could be like this. So anytime you fold, and score, you start having a structure that you can build on. You can also do notching. See how I'm taking the scissors? Notching enables you to cut and fold, and then staple. I kind of have a little theatrical set here now. So do you see how I'm starting to create a three-dimensional form from a flat, thin piece of paper? And this is now sturdy enough, whoops, to build up on, either this way or this way. And my favorite way to build with cardboard is by creating a cylinder. Cylinder is a very strong form. Just by rolling cardboard, stapling it top and bottom, and I'm going to trim this because the strip that I cut was not very even. A cylinder is a beautiful form because it stands up all on its own, which you cannot see here. In the palm of my hand, it's standing. Now, if you want to attach a cylinder to a flat surface, say this is my base, and I want to attach my cylinder, your first impulse probably is, oh, I can just tape it. Well, you could, but if you want a more permanent base, there are a couple of options. One, and this is the more cumbersome, tedious way, which you could do. You can create what are called tabs by cutting strips of cardboard that you fold and crease, and one side of your tab you staple to your cylinder, and then one side of the tab you staple to a base. I'm actually going to attach this to my first sculpture that I started making last night. I'm going to add this cylinder. So now I've joined this cylinder. Let's see if you can see, by stapling the bottom half of the tab to the cardboard base. Or there's another option. Here's a new cylinder that I'm making. Actually, I'm going to make another big one. It'll be easier for you to see. So just with a strip of paper, and again, any kind of paper, you can do this with drawing paper, photocopy paper. Can't do it with tissue paper, unfortunately. That's too thin. So now, remember the technique of notching? You can notch. I would make your notches quite wide. These are about 2.5 inches, and I'm notching all the way around the periphery, the circumference of my cylinder. I'm notching and I am folding each notch and scoring Folding up and really creasing, making a sharp crease at the folded edge. So that now at the bottom of my cylinder, I have a flat surface. You see, now it kind of looks like a top hat. This enables me now to staple it to my base all the way around. All right. One last basic technique for joining paper together. It's another notching technique. This one is difficult to verbalize. You have to kind of watch me, but here's a piece of cardboard. I've cut notches in it, and I want to join it to this kind of house or stage set sculpture that I started creating earlier. And here's how I can do it without tape. Oh, darn it, I put my notches in the wrong place. Not to worry, I'm gonna turn it over this way. I want to notch it on the flat piece of cardboard, but also on the structure I want to join it to. If you join notch to notch, if you slide the notches together, they become permanently attached. Let me show you again on this side. This is so difficult on Zoom. Wait, I have an idea. This might work. Yeah, that's better. So I am notching on my base, and I am notching the piece of paper that I am joining it to, and I am sliding the notches together. Notch to notch. You see how difficult it is for me now to detach the top piece of cardboard from what I've joined it to. Let me show you one more time. So this piece of paper is notched. Let's say I want to put kind of a roofy shape. Let's put a triangle. I want to put this triangle in the notch. Right now, it slips in and out very easily. But if I want it to be attached, I have cut a notch in the triangle, a notch in the triangle. And if I slide the notch into the notch, it's really hard to pull it apart. You see? Notch to notch will join paper together in a very strong way. One might say almost permanently. I didn't use glue. I didn't use tape. I didn't even use a stapler. Again, this piece of paper already has a slice or a notch in it. The piece of paper I'm joining it, or I'm joining to it, I have now cut a notch in. And I'm sliding one notch into the other. And you're starting to see a form emerge. Now, in notching, the forms may move a bit. Sometimes it just means you have to press them in a little bit tighter to make them secure. It's kind of cute, what I just made. All right, so those are the basic techniques of building in cardboard or paper. Have fun, everyone. And if you have any questions at any time during this lesson, please ask. So you can work in 3 dimensions or 2 dimensions. It's entirely up to you. Build, 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 or draw and paint. My goal is always to see you have fun in art at home. The times you might need to use glue or tape are, the stapler is limited in reach. For example, I'm looking at this cylinder, and even if I staple it close to the edge, the stapler is probably not going to reach in the back. And if I were to continue with this sculpture, I would probably have to use the hot glue gun in the back. But this is such a nice piece of cardboard. I'm not sure I want to use it yet today. I want to continue on the sculpture I started last night first. Someone was asking if museums are thinking of opening this summer, and museums are open. They're just limited capacity. The museums in New York City are open. You do have to go online at their websites to book a ticket. In fact, my Mother's Day gift this year, I'm so excited. I'm going to go see the Nikki de Saint-Phalle show at PS1. MoMA PS1. Nikki de Saint-Phalle is, or was, a feminist artist, very big in the 70s, and she's most famous for these goddesses that she created. And I also make goddesses, so love, love, love her work.
How do you spell her last name?
P-H-A-L-L-E, Saint-Phalle, P-H-A-L-L-E. She never really made it big in the US, so it's kind of cool that she's having a solo show at PS1. I think it may be her first and only in the US. Too bad she's no longer alive to appreciate it. Oh, and another thing about sculpture that I failed to mention, the most important thing about sculpture. Sculpture is meant to be looked at from all sides. So continue, but keep turning your piece around as you go. Look at it from all angles, consider it from all sides. If it has hollow spaces, look through it. See what that does for you. And one of the beauties of working in paper is that it's so bendable. So have fun with curves. You can do hard-edged things like this one that I started today, or you can do very curvilinear work like the one I started last night. Have at it. Gosh, we don't have that much time left. I hope most of you have been working. I've been blabbing away.
Liz, this is really fun because we're supposed to be going to Grounds for Sculpture for my mom's Mother's Day gift. We'll go after Mother's Day, but so this is so apropos.
Perfect.
And you're giving me ideas of how to look at sculptures and to understand really what the artist puts into it, you know, from different points of views and including time and inspiration. So thank you.
And I should mention, sculpture can be representational. It can also be abstract. Mine is obviously completely abstract and fun. Do Ho Suh's work was very representational. And I think someone last week, I think Helen, maybe it was you. I think Helen, you're there. Welcome, Helen. Asked if you could paint your sculpture. So yes, but I would recommend you wait till after it's built and then paint it. Absolutely paint it, but I would build first because painted cardboard becomes thicker and it's harder to work with once it's thick from paint, thick with paint.
I'll put stickers on it.
You can paint it after you build it, yes.
And I could put stickers on it.
You can put stickers on it, anything you want. You could glue beads or glitter or.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's great. Attached one of my little dolls at the top because I always have to have one of my little dolls.
I love that.
Probably add more. So my baby is growing, growing, growing.
Oh, I love the extensions. Look at that. It grows so quickly.
It does not take much to create a fabulous paper sculpture. All right. A few more minutes and I'm going to start telling everyone about the artists for next week. Excuse me, and we'll stop for sharing. Also, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box for everyone. If you don't want to share during class time, please send me JPEGs of your work and I will send you tips and advice. And I'll put the name of the artist that I'm going to see. And she's a PS1. And our artist for today, Mr. Do Suh. They're all in the chat box now. No, I have it backwards.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Thank you. Our artist today is Do Ho Suh, and Nikki de Saint-Fel is the artist I'm going to go look at. And my email address, if you want to send me JPEGs of your work to look at, and let's see, our artist for next week. One more minute, everyone. Gosh, I hope you all had as much fun as I did today. Elena, you said that you should do a field trip to an art museum. Talk to Heidi Schwab, the program director, about that. There's something called the run through the Hoboken Library, where they have been going on field trips to different cultural sites, primarily in Manhattan. I think they went to the Bronx Botanical Gardens once. I'm not positive about that.
Yes, that would be of great opportunity, especially in these times, in these unprecedented times, to be outdoors. Also, the Brooklyn Museum has the Botanical Garden and the zoo. Great places to visit, so centrally located to each other. Have you been there?
Many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have not, but I'm hearing good things. Could definitely spend a day there.
I recommend it highly, and I absolutely adore the Brooklyn Museum. I think it is one of the best kept secrets in New York. It just has phenomenal art there, and a lot of people never ever go to it. So
What part of Brooklyn is it located in?
on the Grand Army Plaza, what section of Brooklyn is that? Park Slope?
Okay.
Prospect Heights.
Prospect Heights.
Yeah, but it's basically right next to Park Slope. But it's like you said, it's not far from the Grand Army Plaza, which is the main Brooklyn's main public library location.
And it has its own subway stop, so it's really easy to get to.
And you can actually, it's also next to it's right behind it is the Botanical Garden, or right next to this Botanical Garden. They're kind of all near each other.
Right.
So you're right. It is a best kept secret.
They used to have, now this is tragic, they used to have, my personal opinion, the best museum gift shop in the world, but has since gone bye-bye.
Oh, yeah.
If it's because of the pandemic or what, but the last time I was there, it had disappeared. It wasn't because of the pandemic, because the last time, I'm embarrassed to admit this, the last time I was there was the Frida Kahlo show, so that's
right.
That's
a while ago.
That's almost 2 years ago. I think gift shops are kind of going, except probably at the Met. Right, so I'm sorry to make everyone stop. I just want to briefly mention, we will be looking at another Korean American artist next week. Her name is Julia Kwan. I was drawn to her immediately because she is a doll maker, and I make dolls. I believe that they should be considered a fine art tradition. So we will be spending time next week looking at doll making and fabric art. I have to be honest, I haven't decided exactly what direction we're going to go in with the project for next week, but I'm just going to suggest start looking at dolls in your life, whether it's in a shop window or dolls that you may have in your own home, or you may have nieces and nephews, or whatever. Or you might go to a children's bookstore and see dolls. but keep that in mind. Look at pictures of dolls on the internet. And in the email that I send next week, I'll let you know exactly what we're going to be creating. Trust me, it's one of those situations where I'm just going to say, trust me, it's going to be good.
Maybe I'm making a paper doll
Maybe.
and clothes.
Maybe you did not get in your supply bag this month enough materials to create a doll. Unfortunately, I didn't plan ahead on this one. We could have another doll making workshop. You might send an email requesting that of Heidi, and then the library would be more than happy. Well, I'm speaking for the library, but I could talk the library getting supplies for it. And
Oh, I'm sorry. Can
so we are at the 25th.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you just say about the library?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
We were saying how much we love the Hoboken Public Library. No, the idea for another doll making workshop was thrown out. That's all.
Oh, okay.
We're floating.
Okay, well, we'll see. I wanted to talk about the supplies. So if anyone's on coffee and canvas, we had a hiccup with the paint. So I'm going to put it on the website. At the moment, we don't have the paint. We only have the canvases. So I'm going to find out the status of the paint, but please watch the library website for more information. Okay, and don't come in just yet. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm on it.
Thanks, Heidi. That's, I'm sure, pandemic related. Everything supply wise is messed up. I ordered acrylic paint from Dick Blick way back in the beginning of April, or it might even have been March. Yeah, it was March. I ordered it as a birthday present for myself, and I'm not going to see it till May 21st. So I feel your pain. Anybody want to share the sculpture they made today? We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I would love to see. All right, Lauren, first with her. Oh, wait, sorry, Lauren. EJ has her hand up. Is that for sharing, Elena?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, wait. Why can't I find the spotlight thingy?
Lauren can go first.
Okay. Oh, you know why? Because you're not on camera. So let Lauren go first. And when you put yourself camera, Lauren, are you good to go? Okay, go ahead.
Wow, I'm looking at my house through your eyes now, and looks like projects are happening. My staple gun kind of died in the middle of this. I don't know what exactly this is going to be yet, but I'm kind of working with, it is secured, and I kind of did the notching to kind of almost weave the bottles together.
Nice.
But I'm thinking, you know, flowers, I'm thinking aquatic life.
Distinctly arthropoda insecty kind of feel to me.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's
crustacean, insect, headed in that direction. And does it have to be a thing? It could be an abstraction.
It's, I was going more abstract, but I guess that was kind of what is, you know what I was looking at actually? These, I don't know if you guys have ever seen these, but the Portuguese man of war, I think they're called.
Yeah.
They're so big. And I've got this beautiful yarn. So I was thinking of doing something, you know, hanging, but we'll see. I might do a couple things, but
it's evolving like nature. Well, I love that you're using plastic bottles. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Always.
Awesome.
The colors are great too. So
cool. All right.
Thank you.
Keep going. All right, EJ, can you go on camera? Yes. Okay. Now I can. Thank you, Lauren. Elaine. Ooh, like a Mobius strip. Loving it. Yes. It's
I'm
gorgeous.
thinking ribbon candy. Is that weird?
I'd love to incorporate some fabric.
Do it. So gluing it on or
Probably gluing. I stapled, it's just very simple, staples and paper.
it's lovely. I love the fluidity of it. I love the negative spaces.
Great shadow too. I think I'll hang it this way as a mobile.
Yeah. And are you intending to suspend it?
Yes,
It's beautiful. Thank you, Elena.
thank you.
3D may be your thing. Pima, any interest in sharing?
Sure. I just moved my money plant tree before I started the class, so I was looking at that from my point of view. You can't see the money tree, obviously, but I went more realistic. But I had some challenges because I wanted to make the cylinder. It's sitting in a bowl, so I did all your notches. But I
really
wanted
like
to make
that.
the stems quite thin, and then I realized I can't staple them because my stapler can't fit in there, obviously. And so I had to use my hot glue gun, which I had been out of practice with my hot glue gun, so it's a little messy. And I realized I wanted the seams to be in the inside facing in, and I kind of didn't do that with the first one. As you said, you can see a sculpture from all points of view. However, so the leaves, I wanted them to be like a little, you know how a money tree, like it always is like collapsing down.
Yes.
So it was hard to cut because by the time I cut it so thin, they were falling off. I was cutting them, and I attached it using the notches idea. So it's not the cutest thing. It's not the cutest thing, but it's
Pima,
practice.
it's lovely. And my favorite part is the process. You're learning to solve problems as you go, and that's what sculpture is all about. So each time you solve a problem, next time it's going to become easier.
Yeah, that's
Now,
what I'm.
here's a tip, something to think about. If the messiness of the seams is really bothering you, you could get tissue paper. You could cover the stems with colored tissue paper.
Oh, that's an idea.
Something to camouflage the way it looks if it bothers you. Personally, it doesn't bother me. But if it's or colored construction paper, you could collage, mosaic. You could do mosaic work on the stems. I love the contrast between the thinness and the delicateness of the leaves with the massive quality of the basket or the bowl underneath. I like
Yeah.
that very much, and I want you to emphasize that. Keep going with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Heather, all right. Thank you, Pima.
Thank you.
Woo!
Wow.
Well
Wow.
done, Heather.
They're
Look at that.
plastic lids.
Yes.
Oh, those are lids.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. Are you going to build up at all?
Should I?
I feel like it's so light and airy. I feel a need to see you go higher in the mid. See where you have the tallest one? I want something a little higher from that one.
Okay.
Celestial.
Did you attach it with staples to the base?
Really?
No, that it's hot glue gun. It's like paint markers on the lid, so it's a little translucent. It has the reflections and from the
Really pretty.
things.
Oh.
Oh,
I thought that was on the base. That's so cool.
I didn't realize what the colored circles are.
Yeah.
Oh, really cool. So maybe you need a colored circle on top somehow.
Yeah. Okay.
Something that pulls the bottom through to the top.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are just circles, but then it spreads when the light shines through.
Yeah, I thought that you had painted the paper underneath, but that's even more cool.
No, and it's fabric. It's that thin, really thin tissue fabric kind of
Yeah.
on the base.
Maybe you put some colorful one on one of the wheels, put some fabric.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks.
Paint or paint, if that's easier.
Very pretty, very clever.
Very nice.
Robin, all right. We got 1 minute left.
Okay, this, see if you can see it.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. It looks like an Olympic stadium.
Yeah. Well, the thing was that I had a old Japanese calendar, and it's wonderful texture of paper, and it had this background of cream. And I love teepees. I don't know if you can see them.
It's beautiful.
And it's not attached. And I made others because I had extra, all of these things. And I just have to say, Liz, every time we do something three-dimensional, the material informs what I do. There's no planning, there's no anything. And just because this paper was the way it was, and it had these, I can take one of these out here, it has these notches in it from where the spiral held it together.
Yeah.
I was going to cut that off, and they said, no, you know, it looks great. And these little things in the bottom are the spirals from the so it's just, every time we do it, I really love it. And I say I'm not three-dimensionally oriented. I love it so much. But the material informs what I do. The medium informs what I do. There's no.
And you know what? Maybe it's not meant to be secured. Maybe it's a piece in a gallery that people are supposed to play around with.
Yeah.
And move.
Yeah. It was the most fun to do, and it was so simple, but it comes from the material. That's all I can say. It's so cool. Thank you.